everyone. Welcome to my show. Autumn is here. I'm your host, Francine Crawford, and we're here with a return guest, Miss Paula Rice, and she is the Community Engagement Officer at Columbia University. Welcome her to the show. Welcome, Paula. How are you?
Thank you, Francine. I'm good.
Thank you again for coming on. We really appreciate it. We want to talk a little bit more about what you do at Columbia University. So let's kind of start there.
Okay, so as you mentioned, I'm the Community Engagement Officer for the Department of Neurology of the Aging Brain.
Okay.
And so we are promoting a study called the DAWN study. And it is an international genetic study on Alzheimer's disease within the African American community.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
it's very exciting. There are 10 universities from 5 different African countries that are involved in the study, and 4 universities in the United States, Columbia being one of them. And the lead researcher is in the University of Miami, is at the University of Miami. So, and we're recruiting 14,000 people over 5 years. Oh, and so we're trying to identify the gene that African Americans have inherited from their African ancestry that's putting them at risk for Alzheimer's disease.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And so how is it going? Are you getting people?
We're in year 3, yes. So we're getting people. We've been basically focusing on Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens, and the Bronx. So that's Columbia's territory. And then Miami, University of Miami, of course, they're doing Florida. And Case Western Reserve, which is in Cleveland, Ohio. So they're covering the Midwest. And Wake Forest University, that's in North Carolina. So so we're covering those areas, and then we're looking to expand. And the African contingency is like really excited about, the study as well, because they're learning about their own ethnicities and, where people came from and their, origins within certain West African countries. So, yeah.
So you're still getting people for where the real?
Yes, gathering people. So I guess we've gotten 3 years. We've done about 6,000. It's about half of the the people that we're trying to recruit. Yeah.
So are you going to be able to pinpoint different things for Alzheimer's and stuff like that? And then do you think that it's going to be a difference because people are in different regions?
That we'll find out.
Okay.
So once they collect, they're putting together a database. So once they collect the information from the 14,000 people, then they'll be able to, start digging into their genetic makeup, because every person has 20,000 genes. So they've got to go through 20,000 genes of 14,000 people. So it's going to be a process. It's a process.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've been working with Alzheimer's and research for quite some time.
For some time now, ever since I was caregiver for a mother who had dementia, so it changed my whole life's trajectory. I just started focusing on being an advocate for Alzheimer's caregiving.
Okay.
And Alzheimer's itself, finding I feel like now I'm like come full circle. I've been, working with, I worked with the Alzheimer's Association. I work with Caring Kind, just sort of educating the, community.
Okay.
But now I feel like this has brought me full circle, because now I'm working on the research end of things, and we're actually looking for a cure or some type of treatment for the disease.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're in community engagement. So what are you learning from the community as far as their information for awareness of Alzheimer's and dementia, and what do they know and what is being done?
Well, there are a lot of socioeconomic issues that I think, because not much has changed. since
And how long?
15 years since I, was taking care of my mom. And I think that has to do with a lot of socioeconomic factors, like us not having medical professionals who look like us. And so we're not getting culturally competent care. And then the medical system, they're not, they have 15 minutes. When a doctor sees you, it's 15 minutes to cover everything, so they just can't answer all your questions. Maybe the community doesn't even know what questions to ask.
Yeah, that's part of the problem. You don't know what to ask.
You don't know what to ask.
Right.
There's just and every dementia patient is different.
Yeah.
So there's no one way to address, how to handle a person with dementia. And there's no cure. And there's treatments to slow it down, but a lot of, I think, doctors don't even think it's worth even prescribing or keeping people on medications for a long period of time because it doesn't cure them. So I think and they don't understand that.
But it prolongs it.
Yes, it slows the symptoms down. So what happens is when you stop it, then that accelerates. Then the symptoms accelerate, and you see a decline. It's faster.
It's faster, right?
Faster.
All right. So why wouldn't a doctor want to give what we have? I mean, we don't have a cure, but what we have now, because if it slows it down, like it can be for a long. First of all, Alzheimer's sometimes can be for a long time. In that time, maybe we'll find something better.
Right.
In that time.
Right.
Okay.
But I think people, the medical profession, they're looking for a cure. We have pills that will cure you for things. So if a person has been on a medication for 5 years and there's no change, they'll say, oh, well, this isn't helping you. This medication isn't helping the patient, as opposed to realizing that, it's slowing things
down.
Yeah. So one neurologist told me, because one of my clients was asking me the same question. My mom's been on this medication for 5 years and nothing has changed. So should we continue to use it? And the neurologist said, the only way you know if it's working is if you stop it.
And then
you'll see it gets worse quicker.
Right.
Yeah. And then he said, then you've lost that. So starting it back again won't recapture what you lost.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like you're better off just taking it.
Yeah.
And hoping that it's doing something for you. So, instead of a person like dying in 5 years or 10 years, they'll die maybe in 5.
They're not on anything.
Taking nothing. So
that's the thing. It's like, even though it's not a cure, it's better to have something that slows it down, because you just never know.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I was looking for African American speaker, and I went through all these communities and healthcare places and stuff like that. And everyone said, talk to Paula Rice. Okay. Everyone. These are doctors I don't know or whatever, but your name came up a lot. So I know that you have a lot of time spent and work in the field. So we were talking about how it wasn't, how communities and things they're not getting enough information and things like that. And let me ask you, because you've been in it and you've been dealing with it and you care about it. What are some of the suggestions that we can do, either in the community or a healthcare professional can do, like wherever it is? What could help us to get more information out there, that people realize that this is something that is necessary, and it may happen, and this is what you can do if this happens, to give them some hope?
Well, I mean, advertising, getting information out there on television, and I guess podcasts like this one. You just have to, however, the internet, social media, We've just got to get the word out there. And somebody has to take the initiative to do that. And, it's just not being done. And then with the current administration, reducing the emphasis on DEI. So now people are pulling back from specifically targeting,
Right.
this disease within the African American community. So it's tough.
Yeah.
It's really tough.
Yeah.
And it takes people like you and me to continue get this word out there that and until they find a cure, I mean,
Yeah.
and that's
We have to
been going
encourage
on.
people. We have to encourage people to be able to look at the information and know that, understand what the things that you can look for in a person. Because I think sometimes what happens is people don't recognize the signs.
Yeah.
And then by the time they recognize it, it's further along.
Further along,
So
yes.
that's one of the things, is like, if people can recognize some of the signs, and not to panic people,
Yeah.
but to know that this is where you go for help. Don't wait. Go for help. Go to a doctor. Get a simple test just in case. And that should be regular. It should be a regular part of your yearly test. Is to get certain about your memory or whatever, and it's not that hard. And I noticed that that's not really offered. It's not offered as like part of the things. So if you're not thinking about it, the doctor is not saying anything about it. So you have to be an advocate for yourself.
You really have to be an advocate for yourself. And what helped me was that I had a family member when I was young, when no one was talking about. I don't even think the Alzheimer's Association existed.
Right.
I had an aunt who had it, and I remember as a preteen, witnessing some of her symptoms. And the family didn't know what was going on, and they were a little ashamed. They were ashamed about her behavior. But I watched the progression. And in the end, she was in a fetal position. And I remember the doctor saying that her brain was like half the size of a human brain. It had shrunk. So I learned a lot about this disease through an older aunt.
Wow.
And so when my mother started showing symptoms, I was like, this reminds me of my aunt Amelia. And I'm like, something's not right. And my family didn't believe me. They said, nothing's wrong with her, with your mother. But I could see certain tendencies.
Because you knew what to look
for. I knew what to look, because I had been exposed to it. And I think that exposure is what helps me really, be aggressive about making sure my mother was tested properly. And, when we tested her, we found out that indeed she had what's called vascular dementia. So then I just got involved.
Right. Yeah.
I was looking for every piece of information. I was calling everyone, the Alzheimer's Association, any organization that dealt with, dementia or memory loss. I was, calling and talking. So I gathered a lot of information, and it was the information that saved me, because I was always one step ahead of the disease. So if anything ever, if my mother went to another stage, I was prepared for it.
Oh.
Because I had already studied. I knew what the next symptom, I knew what all the symptoms were. I knew what the stages were. I knew what to look for. I knew the treatments that worked, like just social engagement.
Things that
and all these things, that people aren't aware of.
Right. But see, now I'm thinking, I don't know why it's just coming to me, like, because you knew how to help her when you knew what to expect. Because when my mom had it, I didn't know what to expect. I knew nothing at all. And we just, wherever she's at, I just dealt with it the best way I could.
Yes.
And not that I was doing anything wrong. I was just doing what I feel like to do. But I didn't have the information. I didn't know where to get the information. And now when you're talking to me, it's like, okay, it made the difference that you knew. So why is it not taught in schools. You know what I'm saying? About this behavior or about this, what happens when they get older or aging. You know, a lot of it is aging. It's about, not respecting aging and that we are going to age and we need to step up and be proactive and do stuff about it and start paying attention to aging and what happens in aging. And this is part of what may happen. And not everybody's going to get it, but this is part of what may happen and should be. Education should, if people are educated, especially in the healthcare, when they're going to school, you know what I mean? Then they maybe feel more freely to talk about it or recognize it themselves or be able to give the family members some information on it, or just in case, if that happens, come back to me, we'll take a test. Something like that, How do you get it into schools?
I don't know. I think the research will help.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that this study will help because if we identify a gene, then there's a test.
Right.
That can be a part of your regular annual. If you're over 60, then this test will be a part of your annual, physical. Like for diabetes, there's a test. You can check your A1C levels, and that can be tested every year. So I think the research is going to be the key.
Yeah.
Because if we find a gene or we can develop a blood test that will identify a gene that puts people at risk for this disease, then if pressure can be put on the, medical association to include that test in the annual testing, then we'll know.
Yeah.
Then at least you'll know, those people will start talking about it.
Right.
Just like we talk about the diabetes, like, I'm at 5.8 or something. And my doctor said, if I get to 7, then I'll be a diabetic. So I have to watch my diet and so we need that type of, dialogue going on.
It's like with mammograms, but we didn't take that.
We didn't. Yes.
Yeah. And then when they started talking about it, researching whatever, that now we can take a test.
Yes.
We have to do it every year.
Yes.
So it should be something that's automatic that you, can look for at a certain age or something.
Something.
Yeah. We have to figure that
out. It's a slow process. It's a slow process. And then, ageism, plays a big role.
Oh, absolutely.
Why should we put all this energy and money into a group of people who are going to die in the next 10 or 15 years,
But people are living longer. People are not living like, it's like they act like when people are 70 and they just drop off and they...
Right.
One of the things I say, I write plays and sometimes there's an older person in it. And I had to tell one of the directors, they said, well, what would you like me to know about the play? I said, listen, every time an actor reads a part that someone is older, they read it like, like they're all frail and everything. I said,
yes.
I've talked to people 70, 75, 80. They don't speak like that. They're not ready to go in the ground. We're still living. They're still, have quality of life. They still have something to offer. And they still deserve care and the best care. You can't just discount people.
Yes.
It's, and people don't get it. When you get that age, do you want people to discount you?
Yeah.
You want, not the best service or, people just ignore what's happening to you. You don't. Right. So we need to, be more proactive in helping people to understand that it affects everyone.
It affects everyone.
Yeah. So, yeah. So what would you say to someone that is dealing with somebody who has dementia and it's progressing? Like, what would you say to them? Where can they go for help? What should they do?
They should reach out. The first thing you could do, a lot of people don't even think of this, but the first thing you should do is reach out to the Alzheimer's Association.
Yeah.
In New York, there's the Alzheimer's Association and there's Caring Kind. So there's 2 organizations. You just have to ask for help.
Yeah.
And you just don't know where that help is coming from.
Right.
I remember when I was taking care of my mother And I was like just so stressed out. And I think I had gone to the store and I only had a few minutes to go because I had to take all the knobs off the oven, the stove, because if I left the house, she would go in and start trying to cook and that sort of thing. So I was just a wreck. So I had to run out and pick up some things from the local, the grocery store. And there was this homeless woman that was handing out. She had found, I don't know, she had gone to an office or obviously something somewhere. And she had a handful of flyers. And she was handing them out to people. And most people were just ignoring her like, oh, it's crazy homeless woman. But she handed me a flyer and I took it. And it had it was for a home health agency.
Oh.
And I thought, wow. This was information that I needed about getting a home health aid for my mother. And it was an agency in the neighborhood. And, I just randomly get a flyer from a homeless person, a mentally ill homeless person on the street. And I was like, wow, you just never know. You have to be open. You never know where your information is going to come from, where your help is going to come from.
Right.
And so you just have to... And I think sometimes in our community, there's a shame associated with having, a family member that has dementia. And so you don't want to talk about it. But when you talk about it, when you don't talk about it, you block your blessings because you don't know where they're coming from.
Right.
Yeah. So you've got to open up and talk about it.
Yeah.
And someone will say, oh, I went through the same thing, or, I use this agent. We've got to share information.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. We've got to be open to talk about it. So.
Okay. And I know you deal with support groups also.
And
so there are support groups out there.
There's support groups. There's classes, and you can take them online. So where you can get information. And people don't realize how important just information is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, is there anything else that you would like to say that you think that the audience or the community should know? Or
I think we should rethink getting involved in research studies.
Okay.
And, there's a lot of stigma about that because there's a lot of mistrust about the system,
right?
Experimenting on our community because historically there's been some, the Tuskegee experiment and the Henrietta Lacks where we were taken advantage of.
Right.
So we have to, I think, get past that because you're sort of damned if you do, damned if you don't. You may not trust the system, but if you're not involved in the system, then you don't know if what they're giving you, what the doctor's going to give you, actually works for you or not, because you weren't represented in the study.
Right.
So, so we've got to, I think, get past that, and I think one way of doing that is just to ask questions to make the people that are giving that administering the studies, you've got to hold them accountable. So you have to do your research, ask them questions. What are you doing with my information? Where is this going? What are you going to, you've got to ask questions. And then there are some government organizations that are, that protect us so that you can report, organizations that you think may be taking advantage of the public. So
that's good.
Yeah. So it's called the IRB. So, and they monitor everything.
Okay.
So all the studies that are being done, all research studies that are being done. So we do have some safeguards now that we didn't have in the past. Yeah. But I think, getting involved in research, and you learn from that too.
Right.
Right. And there's compensation. So, I mean, for seniors, that's, getting involved in studies, you can, make a few extra dollars.
Right. Yeah.
It's like a side hustle.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that, especially when you're on a fixed income,
Yes.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So getting involved in more research studies. Yeah, we do. I know we're not comfortable in it, but we need to do it not only for us, but the future.
Yes, for our
Yeah,
right.
for our future and for, and people have to get used to doing that because we need others to do it. Like, so if we get used to doing it, we do it and there's, we're okay. We get good results from it. Maybe our children will do it and our grandchildren will do it and they'll keep going and we'll find more.
And we'll
things.
find more.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll
More help and more cure.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. We can only help. Hope.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Paula. Thank you for having us information. Thank you for coming. We really appreciate it. And all the luck for the research project.
Thank you.
Dawn.
Yes, Dawn.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So there is a federal institution called IRB, and it stands for Institutional Review Board. So if anyone feels that they're being wronged or taken advantage of in any type of research study, the research study can be reported. So we do have ways of protecting ourselves from abuse within research studies. So just keep that in mind.
And remember to follow Autumn is Here on all social media platforms.